So, picture this. You finish a workout, you scoop your favorite protein powder into a shaker bottle, and then you actually look at the label, right? It's usually packed with these massively long, unpronounceable chemical-sounding names. And it kind of makes you wonder, what exactly are we about to dump into our bodies? Well, today in this explainer, we're literally shrinking down. We are going microscopic to translate the actual science and see exactly what happens inside your gut when you chug that post-workout shake.
Because listen, if you spend any time on social media, you know people are absolutely terrified of these ingredient lists. The modern golden rule seems to be, if you can't pronounce it, it's toxic. But is it really? Is your daily shake actually some slow-acting chemical cocktail? Or is there a fascinating, perfectly safe biological reason for every single one of those terrifying words on the label? Let's find out.
You see, it's a classic clash of two fitness tribes. On the left side, you've got the all-natural purists, the folks pushing the two-ingredient raw goat whey. And on the right, you've got the standard gym goers formula, which is totally loaded with 10-plus industrial-sounding additives. Look, it's super easy to look at that commercial powder and just have this visceral reaction to it. It sounds highly processed. But here's the reality check. Judging a protein powder's safety purely by its spelling is a massive biological mistake. Okay, before we put our first ingredient under the microscope, we have to understand exactly how scientists measure danger. It all comes down to something called the acceptable daily intake, or the ADI. Here's how it works. When researchers find the absolute maximum dose of a substance that produces zero negative effects in a lab, they don't just stop there and call it a day. No, they build a massive biological fortress around it. They add a 100-fold safety buffer. This is absolutely crucial. It means the amount deemed safe for you to consume every single day for your entire life is just 1/100th of the amount that showed any tiny effect in a lab. So keep that massive buffer zone in mind as we go through this. Section 1. Surviving the sweetener scare. The truth about sucralose. All right, sucralose. This is what gives your shake that amazing sweet vanilla or chocolate flavor without piling on the calories. But it is constantly accused online of being this carcinogenic villain. Let's actually look at the biology here. Based on that massive 100-fold safety buffer we just talked about, a 150-pound person would need to consume 680 milligrams of pure sucralose every single day just to reach the ultra-conservative safety limit. And a single scoop of your protein, it has a few single-digit milligrams, literally. To actually harm yourself with this sweetener, you wouldn't just need a protein shake. You'd basically need to drink it from a fire hose. Section 2. Inside the seed oil myth. Sunflower oil and inflammation. Now, fitness circles are absolutely terrified of sunflower oil right now. The big fear is that the linoleic acid, or LA, inside the oil gets converted into arachidonic acid, or AA, which then sparks chronic inflammation in your body. But when we zoom inside your cells, the story changes completely. Your biology actually acts like the world's most exclusive nightclub bouncer. It strictly regulates how much LA is allowed to step through the velvet rope and convert into that inflammatory AA. Even if you were to drastically increase your sunflower oil intake by, say, 500%, the cellular bouncer barely lets any extra through. Your body is incredibly smart. It simply doesn't flood itself with inflammation from a single shake. Section 3. Chemistry for better shakes. Demystifying fillers and thickeners. So, you might be wondering, why do we even need these unpronounceable fillers in the first place? Well, because without them, mixing pure whey powder with water creates this clumpy, gritty texture that tastes exactly like a mouthful of wet beach sand. Nobody wants that. Take soy lecithin, for example. I like to call it the emulsifying peacekeeper. All it really does is act as a molecular bridge. It forces oil and water to hold hands and mix smoothly. And hey, if you're worried about hormones because you see the word soy, don't be. Actually, scratch that. There's practically zero soy protein in it anyway. It is simply a harmless, microscopic mixing tool. And what about those scary-sounding carbohydrates? Let's rapid fire through these. Modified food starch. That is literally just tweaked corn or potato starch to make the texture better. That's it. Maltodextrin, it's a rapid-digesting carb filler. Now, does it cause a blood sugar spike? Yes, it does. But a minor blood sugar spike is a totally normal biological process. In the tiny amounts found in a scoop of protein, it's like tossing a pebble into a massive pond. The ripples are completely insignificant for a healthy person. And finally, guar gum. It's just a thoroughly tested, non-toxic plant thickener. Guys, these aren't hidden poisons. This is just culinary science working to make your fuel edible. Section 4. The heavy metal truth. Headlines versus biological reality. Okay, we have to address the heavyweight champion of internet fear-mongering right now. Look at this headline.
almost 50% of popular protein brands contained elevated levels of heavy metals and BPA. I mean, reading that literally makes you want to throw your tub straight in the trash. But here is the critical missing context. This terrified headline came from an unpeer-reviewed press release. And worse, the organization conveniently refused to share any of their raw data. You know the deal in science. If you hide your data, your claims mean absolutely nothing.
Because when we actually look at the peer-reviewed data, the panic just evaporates. Imagine drinking 3 whole protein shakes a day. That's an absolute worst-case scenario, right? Well, the heavy metal exposure from those 3 shakes is drastically lower than what you'd get simply from eating a normal, healthy diet full of everyday seafood and grains. And when you compare it to the CDC's actual danger threshold, no way. It's barely even a blip on the radar. You're exposed to a mere fraction of the metals found in normal, everyday food.
So, how do we actually bulletproof our supplement routine? It's simple. You look for independent, rigorous third-party testing badges, things like NSF Certified for Sport or Informed Sport. These labels are what actually guarantee purity. We empower our own health when we learn to trust verifiable data over internet press releases that are basically just designed to farm clicks through panic.
Which brings us to our final shift in perspective today. We absolutely have to stop equating the word processed with dangerous. And we need to remember that natural definitely doesn't automatically mean safe. Those complex names on the back of your tub, they are meticulously regulated, heavily tested additions perfectly designed to make your nutrition stable, mixable, and actually palatable. So the next time you scan a label full of unpronounceable words, ask yourself, are you actually in biological danger, or have you just been conditioned to fear the vocabulary of food science? Keep questioning everything, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next